Thank you so much. We're really, really excited and happy to be here. And I have to admit, it is so great to see everyone in person again. Although, sir, I noticed that your camera is off. Would you mind turning it back on for us? All right, great. So, welcome. My name is Nathen Harvey. I'm a developer advocate with Google Cloud. And joining me today is someone who will introduce themselves once they've got the computer running, which should only take about 25 minutes, from what I understand. Let's give a round of applause to the AV team, who are working very diligently to keep us all lit and, yes. So, I'm Nathen Harvey, and Amanda, would you introduce yourself?
I'm Amanda Lewis.
Oh no, we can't hear you.
Oh, hello. Can you hear me now?
No.
Now?
Look, you can have slides, or you can have audio. Pick one.
So I might have set this up because I said last night I was just going to sit here and let you talk. Hey. Oh. Now I don't get to sit and talk.
Nope, you don't get to sit.
I got to talk.
Just listen to me prattle on.
But I love listening to you.
We get to present together.
Okay.
That's good. All right. So we are here today to talk about the state of DevOps. And to help us talk about the state of DevOps, we actually lean on some research. Yeah?
Yes.
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 There was some research from an organization called DORA. Quick show of hands, how many of you have heard of DORA? All right, very good, very good. So DORA is the DevOps Research and Assessment. DORA is the largest and longest running research program of its kind. It provides an independent, tool agnostic, and academically rigorous research into what makes teams better at software delivery and operations performance. DORA, as an organization, was acquired by Google Cloud, but we've maintained our commitment to keeping that research product agnostic and truly academically rigorous. We go out each year and we survey organizations of every shape and size to get insights into how they're doing.
And I think, like Emily shared with us, we're seeing kind of this evolution, and what I think makes the research so great is that if you go back and you read the reports from 2014, 15, 16, you're going to see, I think we're seeing trends. So developer productivity has been looked at a couple times, security several times, burnout. I don't know if anybody's experienced that over the last couple years. We were looking at it at 2015 as well. And so it gives us this opportunity to really think of how can we as a team improve by using all of us in this community, but in an academically rigorous way.
That's right. And when we look at performance over the years, what we are able to do is help teams identify, how are you doing today? How is your performance going? And what we find over time is that performance, the way that we work together, is continually improving. It's not static. We continue to grow. And in fact, what we're able to do in the research is identify, what does a team's performance profile look like? Are you a low performer, a medium performer, a high performer, or even an elite performer? And what we see over time is two trends that are really fascinating. First, the size of that elite performance group, look at it, it's growing over time. So as an industry, the best of the best continue getting better. But the other thing I think that's really interesting and doesn't really show up in this particular view of the data is that the buckets, the level that you have to be at to be a medium performer changes over time. And what this tells us is that as a team, if what we do is say, aha, DevOps, we've arrived. What's actually happening is you're falling further and further behind the rest of the industry. We have to be continually and continuously improving.
But how do we know how we're doing, or if we need to improve?
How do we know?
Yeah.
How do we know?
How do we know?
I don't know. We have to have some measures in place. What measures do we have in place to figure this out? So we have four keys for helping figure out our software delivery metrics. 2 for speed and 2 for stability. Do you want to be speed or stability?
I'm going to be speed.
All right, let's be fast.
And I'm only going to be speed. I love to think about my deployment frequency and lead time for changes. I'll let you just handle the stability
All right.
side.
Stability, it's easy. First, time to restore service. Oh no, the slides aren't working. Quickly, start a timer. How quickly is it before we can restore our service? And this is really important, as Emily just covered, incident response. I don't mean to alarm you, but something in your system is broken right now. All right, stay here, thank you. Someone else is on call, I'm sure. But how do we respond when something breaks? And then there's this other change, or this other metric that we have called the change fail rate. Now, change fail rate sounds very academic because it's an academically rigorous program. I like to call this the O-expletive rate, because it's what happens when you push something to production and then someone shouts, expletive! Except no one actually shouts expletive. Sorry, I've been working from home for 2 years, and the children are always in the background. I cannot use actual expletives anymore. So we take these 4 measures, but Amanda, you said you were only going to own speed?
Yes.
No, you can't do that.
But also, I'm only going to own speed, but when there's failure, you can't slow me down. Don't tell me to stop.
No. This is not how it works. When we look at these 4 metrics, here's the most important thing about these 4 metrics. Emily talked about accountability. We have to have shared accountability for these metrics. It doesn't matter where you sit in the revolution, what your role is. When we think about an application or a service, the way that we measure that, the software delivery metrics for that application or service, we have to have joint ownership over these.
So we need to work together.
We need to work together.
All right.
Let's work together.
So, this is...
You have to work together.
Oh, no, oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's time for a commercial break really quickly.
Perfect timing. Oh my goodness.
I mentioned that we ask the world to share information about their software delivery and what practices and capabilities are you using. Well, we need your information. We can't help everyone if we don't hear from everyone. So please take out your phone, go to this URL, grab that QR code. We need you to participate in this year's State of DevOps survey. All right, moving on.
Okay.
Thanks for that commercial break.
Thank you.
So back to those metrics.
Back to metrics.
Look, you know what's great? You know what my favorite thing to deliver to production? What is it?
Happy users?
What's that? I love happy users. And what do happy users love? New features. These metrics are all about new features. New features is the only thing that matters, right?
So, Nathen, if you would have asked me over the weekend, I would have agreed with you. But then I went to a couple workshops yesterday, and I heard that maybe it's not just new features, because when the system goes down, or maybe it gets hacked, then we don't have happy users.
So security maybe matters also.
Security might matter.
Y'all recognize these things? Who's feeling a little nervous now? Right? Look, we know, and I learned this yesterday also, I was in some workshops, and there are a lot of DevSecOps security vendors here sponsoring the conference. Go talk to them. Look, they will tell you that 2 of the most egregious problems with security, configuration errors and lack of updates. We aren't staying constant. We aren't staying current on the libraries that we're bringing in. We aren't patching our systems. These are 2 things that happened. When we think about these, we can think about how did we respond in relation to those 4 delivery metrics. So when I think about Heartbleed, how long did it take me to identify that? How long did it take me to recover? When I think about the changes that were required, what was the lead time to get those changes through the system? But then with Log4j, it's the same thing. We can measure the same thing to understand how did we respond. But here's the most important question.
But we must have responded quicker and easier, and it wasn't stressful, right?
It must have been better.
Right? We've known the 4 keys.
We knew the 4 keys.
Years?
We get better all the time. So how many, just a quick guess from your memory, how many years were there between Heartbleed and Log4j? Somebody shout something out.
5.
I hear 5. I hear 6. I hear 8. I hear 2. It feels like 2, doesn't it? It was 7 years. It was 7 years between Heartbleed and the Log4Shell vulnerability. I have a question for you. Do you feel 7 years smarter? Did your log4j response feel 7 years smarter than your Heartbleed response? I hope so. Good, good. Let's give that team a round of applause. They said yes. Good, good, good.
We'd love to talk with you more afterwards.
Yes,
Everybody
absolutely.
needs to hear.
We all need to. All right. Yes.
Is this to feel the pain one more time?
I think we've covered it. Yes. I just want to keep the PTSD going, and let's move on. Let's move on.
But landing, I guess, still, that new features are important, but more importantly, we should apply the 4 keys to everything we do within
every type of change. Every type of change, absolutely. Okay, so we do a survey, we publish a report. What did we learn this year? And by this year, I mean last year. The most recent version of the report. What did we learn? Let's go through some findings.
So I think one of the findings we'll start with is that, SRE and DevOps are complementary philosophies. And I think if we would have stood up here a few years back, that could have been a little bit more controversial. But looking at how teams, teams that were implementing kind of those SRE best practices, those are your high and elite performing teams.
Absolutely. So, SRE and DevOps grew up together. SRE kind of started in this little cloistered organization that some of you have maybe heard of, Google. And Google didn't really participate so much in the community as SRE was coming up. So last year, we were really able to get data on those SRE capabilities and bring them together. And we see great statistics from that.
We do.
Yeah. Like 52% of the participants are doing some sort of SRE practices. The really interesting thing, though, was as we looked across those low, medium, high, and elite performers, yes, we saw some SRE practices across all of them, but in every one of those performance buckets, the teams had ways to improve, adopt more SRE practices.
And I think it comes back, again, Emily was saying about that accountability, and I think part of the SRE practice is that accountability and kind of shared responsibility. So Nathen, what's next?
So more teams are leveraging the cloud and getting significant benefit from it. So here's another one of the challenges of having an academically rigorous survey. We can't go to you and say, are you using the cloud? Because that doesn't really tell us anything. What does it mean to use the cloud? What does it mean?
Just creating an account and then putting something on a VM?
Exactly. You open up an account, you put down a credit card, you pay a monthly bill, you're now using the cloud. Good. No, that's not enough. We have to dig deeper. So we dug deeper and we look at the specific characteristics of cloud. And this year we also asked about, what about multi-cloud use? And more importantly than are you using multiple clouds, we wanted to get to the motivation. Why are you using multiple clouds? And what we found in our survey response was that the teams that are using multiple clouds are using multiple clouds because of the unique characteristics and benefits of each cloud. Now, I think this is really insightful because when we try to use all of the clouds the same, we kind of have a rush to the bottom. Let's find the common characteristics across all clouds, probably the least differentiated features. That's how we're going to grow our business. No, let's instead look at the things that really differentiate those clouds.
And I do think we often see that we might have all 3 clouds or 4 clouds or 10 clouds that are out there, but it is the actually using the individual features that are going to best help your business be successful.
Absolutely.
And happy users.
Features like self-service. And an elasticity of the cloud. Do you actually get those as you're using the cloud?
So in last year's report, I believe for the first time ever, we studied documentation and the importance of internal documentation and how that relates to high-performing teams. And it was quite impressive.
Yes, documentation is like security. We all know we need to get better at docs, right? And that's someone else's job, right? Right, yeah. So one of the things that I found most fascinating, the teams that are doing best with documentation are those teams that prioritize it when it comes to performance reviews and promotions. Are you rewarded for writing documentation? Or is that, well, that's not a software engineer's job. That's for the doc writers. That's for the tech writers. No, it's all of our job, just like security is.
Absolutely. And then, probably no surprise to anyone, also security came up again in last year's report, and specifically that those teams, right, that are really integrating their security practices throughout the cycle are finding that they're going to exceed and be more successful as an organization.
That's right.
I think we've talked enough about security, though.
Good.
So let's get to the final one. Does anybody have a guess what this might be?
There's one more key finding from last year's report. Anyone guess what it might be?
Emily mentioned it in her talk.
We've talked about
The importance
docs,
of it.
security. We've talked about SRE. Communication.
It is a part of that. You're very close.
You're very close.
It's definitely
the first letter
falls
was
with it.
correct.
Yes.
The first letter was correct.
Culture. That's
Culture.
right.
That's right. So
Yes.
a healthy team culture. This was a really fascinating thing. Like the researchers sat down and they said, "Oh, it's 2021. The world has gone through a lot of changes. Wait, we aren't really here to investigate how a global pandemic impacts teams. But what we can investigate is, what about team performance? Now everyone's working remotely. Of course, performance is just going to fall down. But what we found was that teams where there was good culture, good communication pathways, and teams where the individuals on the team felt like they belonged as part of that team, those teams not only performed better, but also saw about 50% less burnout. 50% less burnout in the midst of a global pandemic. That is fascinating.
Yes.
All right.
So we talked about the 4 keys at the beginning, and I think over time, when we think about DORA, we talk about DORA, we've been talking about the 4 key metrics, which are important, but maybe less important is having dashboards upon dashboards about the 4 keys, or just spending time saying, look at that beautiful dashboard.
Do we have time for a quick cautionary tale? We do. I'm going to take it. I'm going to take it. Okay, so you've heard of DORA before. You've maybe even heard of the 4 keys. Let me share a quick cautionary tale with you. And I've seen this with more teams than I'd care to admit. Teams read the research. They see that there are these performance buckets, and they say, you know what, next year we're going to be an elite performer. But we have a little problem. You know how we found out how good our performance was? We asked people, hey, what's our deployment frequency? What's our lead time for changes? How quickly are we recovering? And you know what? Our executives, we want hard data. So we need telemetry from our systems that will tell us what is our lead time for changes, what is our deployment frequency. And they're not wrong. Having that telemetry would be great. But here's the cautionary tale. I've seen teams say that and then build new software engineering teams whose job it is to go and get that telemetry. Those teams spend 18 to 24 months building dashboards that give us immediate insight and visibility into how are we doing as a team across these 4 keys. We make these dashboards available to the executives who never look at them. And these dashboards that we've spent the last 1.5 to 2 years building, they tell us exactly what we knew 2 years ago, but we know it up to the minute. We know it absolutely with accuracy and precision. And what we did was we spent 2 years of engineering capacity building dashboards, and what we failed to do was spend 2 years of engineering capacity improving. We got no better. We only got better insights. And I'm not saying that you should not measure your 4 keys. I'm not saying that you shouldn't try to get that telemetry. But I will say that the success story that goes along with that cautionary tale are the teams who said, we got these great insights from the research. We want to get better as a team. How do we start? Well, just start. Just start. Write down on a piece of paper at the end of a sprint, what was your lead time for changes? How frequently are you deploying? As a team, review that. These teams have the great insight that those 4 key metrics, they aren't for the executives. They're for us. They're for us on the team to learn, where can we improve? How do we get better?
And they are for us, but we can't get stuck always looking in that rearview mirror, because it is a trailing indicator. So we really need to be looking ahead.
Yes.
And there's a lot of paths ahead. So how do we know where we're going?
Yeah,
What we should do?
And the key point here is, when you're driving down the road, You cannot drive safely down the road if you're constantly looking in that rearview mirror. We have to look ahead and see what's coming. And what we see is coming, with the research, we look at the capabilities that drive that performance. So capabilities, what do I mean? Well, there are technical capabilities, things like doing trunk-based development, practicing continuous integration. There are process capabilities, measurement capabilities, and importantly, cultural capabilities. How well is information flowing within our systems? What we need to do as a team is use the 4 metrics to help us assess where we are, and then look at the capabilities to find out which capability is holding us back. Where is our constraint? And let's build an experiment. Let's run an improvement plan for that capability.
So while that sounds really great, Nathen, when I'm looking at this and I'm thinking about it, especially, to be really honest, the culture piece gets me a little concerned. I might be able to give you some cautionary tales. I start to see some bears in the road.
Bears in the road. Yeah. Bears in the road. Oh, Amanda.
I'm seeing all the things that could go wrong.
Amanda, the bears in the road, they are but an apparition. There aren't bears in the Netherlands. There are no bears in the road.
Are you sure?
I'm sure. Okay. Don't worry about those bears in the road. You know what you can do instead? Think about the road ahead of you and look around you. Look to your left, and this is for all of you. Look to your left. Yeah. Look to your right. You have people here today at DevOps Days Amsterdam with ideas about how to improve your software delivery and operations performance. Share those ideas with one another. Participate in the survey. Read the reports. Read the Accelerate book to get better insights into how you can improve.
Use the survey with your teams, even when you're taking the survey. It's a great opportunity to...
Taking the survey?
Yes.
Are we going to take the survey?
Together?
Yeah.
I'd love to
take it together.
If anybody else wants to take it with us,
yeah.
It's great.
Let's take the survey together.
Some of them are hard conversations, and we might not know the answers, right? And that's like sometimes the option I don't know.
Yes.
It's on there as well. But you get to know a lot more about your team and how people are thinking and maybe where some blinders are by just going through, getting in a room and going through the survey together. So highly encourage you to do that and to have more conversations, get together, even if you're just looking at the 4 key metrics and having that conversation. It's gonna help you start to unlock and get closer together as a team so that you can start to progress. And you can still look at those 4 keys in the back, but then,
yes.
I mean, look at that.
They will definitely help. They will definitely help. So, one more slide, maybe? There we go. All right, so listen, that survey, when you sit down and consider the questions carefully, and if you get together in a room, I'm gonna put myself on offer. If you and your team agree to get together in a room, throw the survey questions up on a projector and walk through them as a team, I'll join you as a facilitator. I'll join you as a facilitator. You just have to invite me along. I'll come in. Here's the thing that's so powerful about it. We're building shared context together. When you get together with your team, I don't mean the people that report to the same manager. I mean your cross-functional team that's required to build, deploy, and operate that application. Think about the revolutionary model. How do we bring this application to life? How do we bring these experiences to our users? Who's involved with that? Let's get all of those people together in a room, and as you go through the survey, I want you to just jot down notes. Where do we have strong disagreements? What are our aha moments? Just considering the questions from the survey. And where do we think we should make investments on improving? Because the truth is, if you want to get better at software delivery and operations performance, it requires that communication. It requires working together as a team, and each day taking a small step forward. Improvement work must become part of your daily activity, your daily work, and it must be prioritized. Yeah? All right.